What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. First one for 2024. It feels really good to be back after like a 3-week break. 3 weeks with no fights. It was terrible. I mean, what else are you supposed to do on Saturdays besides like watch fights? I had to actually like hang out with friends and talk to family for the first time in a while. And it was rough, but we made it through. We are finally here and finally get to watch some fights. And we're kicking 2024 off with a really good card. UFC Vegas 84. I love this card from a fan perspective. I love this card from a DraftKings perspective. Betting perspective, I don't have any bets yet. Not sure how many I'll have, but yeah, good card. Next week we have a good card as well. And most importantly, just feels good to be back here. We'll kick it around to the panel. It's been a couple weeks. Monk, how have you been?
Fantastic. Good to be back. 2024. Looking forward to the fights for sure. Apparently, there's some big announcements coming up for the Paper 300 as well. We're looking forward to. But honestly, let's not overlook this card. You nailed it. There are some decent fights on this card. One in particular I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I'm just excited to kick the year off with you guys. And no train today. Train update. No train today. Was right on time.
No train. Love it. Love it. Gordo, how have you been? How was your break?
It was good, man. That first week you're there, it's like, yeah, it's nice not to have to do any tapes, sit back, kick your feet up. And it's like, all right, I missed this. I missed the show on Wednesdays. I miss my Uncle Weezy. I miss Monk, I miss Brady. It's like, you got to get back to it. And honestly, I've been looking forward to this card for a while now. Santa knocked on the door, delivered me some UFC 297 tickets. So I'm looking forward to that as well because I'll be there next week. But we get this card started, this year started pretty well. I do think it is a very fun DraftKings card. I'm excited to dive in and hear your thoughts on it.
Malcolm Gordon fight week next week. I mean, we get Weston Wilson this week, Gordon next week. I mean, 2024 is going to be awesome. All we're missing is Jordan Wright making a return. That'd be even better. But Weezy, I know you've been a little bit sick, but other than that, how have you been?
Yeah, I mean, other than the sickness, everything's good, man. I mean, Priscilla Ketcha cheating coming back next week as well, So 2024, I mean, like 299 is stacked. We're still finding out what's going to happen at 300. We got a lot of really interesting fight announcements. Even Corey McKenna is fighting Jacqueline Amorim. We just saw that get released today on Twitter. That's a good fight. That's going to be happening in March or April, I think. The UFC 2024 year is starting off with a bang, and there's some really fun fights on this card. A lot of violence, so I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, before we get started, if you guys could please do us a favor, leave a like on the video. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm sure a lot of you guys forgot because, like, nobody's here right now. We got Gil in the chat, Steven. That's about it, but I'm sure some people will start showing up very, very shortly there. All right, we're going to get into it here. UFC Vegas 84. As always, we're going to start with our fights to target. A lot of fights sticking out this week. We'll start with our Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target this week?
I love the Semelsberger Parsons fight. It's mid-range salary. Both these guys have solid DraftKings work rates. Parsons 4.1, Semi 3.36 points per minute. If this fight stays on the feet, there's a high probability that Semi gets a knockdown and a knockout. And if Parsons gets lots of takedowns in top position, he could score good in a decision win. And a submission with this kid is always a possibility because he's a very aggressive grappler as well. So I see someone getting finished here, and it's a mid-priced fight. Whoever scores big, whoever wins will score big and will be an inexpensive option.
I almost got caught muted for a second, but I caught myself. I like it. I like it. I'm going to go with another fight that is kind of in that mid-range. It's going to be Brunno Ferreira, Phil Hawes. Bet Online open up the fight. Doesn't go at like minus 1,400. Yeah, I think somebody's getting finished. Somebody's getting knocked out. We have two guys that aren't really durable, especially Phil Hawes. We just saw Ferreira get knocked out in like a minute as well. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. Both guys have really good power. So yeah, I think somebody's probably getting knocked out under 1.5 rounds. It's heavily favored to do so. And we have Ferreira 8,300, Hall 7,900. It's hard to imagine the winner not finding his way on the optimal lineup and a finish there in the first round there. So Gordo, what are you liking for a fight to target?
And there are 3 fights this week with incredibly egregious lines where the fight doesn't go. Let's give you the third one here. Tom Nolan, Nicholas Mota. This fight is another one that is expected to end inside the distance, and you can't blame anybody for landing like that, right? You have two guys who are really killer to be killed, mostly from the Mata side, because we have seen him knocked out. We have seen him finish in losses, and let's not really let it be confused. He was just finished by Trey Ogden. I don't care what anybody says. He was just finished by Trey Ogden. So we have a guy out there who, although he is able to be finished by low-level competition, has incredible power in his right hand and has the ability to knock out anybody he has in front of him. He has in front of him someone who is undefeated with a fantastic frame for the division, who's just extremely reckless himself, someone who wants to go for the kill, who wants to close for the distance. And Tom Nolan has that killer instinct. He has that finishing ability in his own right. So you have two guys who have that killer to be killed mentality, two guys who throw with fight ending intention, and two guys who want to knock each other's lights out. I do think this fight happens to end inside the very first round, scoring very well. I do think Nolan Mota is one you want to target this week.
There we go. Yeah, some of these fight doesn't go to decision lines this week are pretty crazy. A couple 1600s, couple 1400s. I think the Walker Ankalaev was like minus 1,000 at one point. It's come down, but my gosh, I think we're going to get a lot of violence on this card for sure. We got Samuel saying the crew is back. Yes, sir. Welcome back to you as well, Samuel. Monk, what is your favorite fight to target on the card? We gave 3 really good ones there, I think.
Love those for sure. I'm going with, honestly, my favorite fight on the entire card. Ricky Simón and Mario Bautista. I mean, Jesus, I could, if Jim Miller wasn't fighting, I could honestly turn this event off. And if we didn't have 3 weeks off or whatever, I could be happy just watching that fight and being good. But of course I won't do that. But yeah, Ricky Simón and Bautista, fantastic. They both score really well when they win, both over 102 points. Bautista's over 103. Both over 100 points. Ricky Simón's averaging 102. They both give up over 102 points when they lose. So a decent possibility for a triple-digit winner here. And I think we've got another fight that is relatively mid-range. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, 8,600, 7,600 right here. So this seems to be a money spot this week, the mid-range. Keep that in mind if you are building some lineups later in the week. But man, this has potential to be an early, first quarter fight of the year on the very first card. Ricky Simón, Mario Bautista. Let's go.
Yeah, man, there's so many good fights on this card, and then we get to the main event. It's gonna, right, like this card is phenomenal up until the main event with Magomed Ankalaev. But all right, we'll go to fights to fade. Obviously a tough section this week. I think like 9 or 10 fights are favored to end inside the distance. It's a ton this week, so kind of tough to find a fight to outright fade. So we'll start with you, Gordo. Gordo, which fight are you fading for this week?
For me, it's going to be for Basharat versus Taylor Lapilus. To me, that's a fight that I do think is going to be a bit closer than the line entails, but one that could be fought at a very slow pace. We have someone, Lapilus, who was cut from the UFC for being a bit too boring or fight too slow. He is very methodical. He is willing to fight from distance, and he is someone who is okay to slow the fight down. When you have so many fights that are favored to end inside the distance, and then you got a guy like Taylor Lapilus on the card, that's the fight I kind of want to stay away from. I think this is a guy who's okay to slow the fight down, has decent enough takedown defense to really suppress someone like Farid Basharat. And although Basharat has scored okay in his fights before, he only scored 81 against Blacksherry there, and I think he has an even tougher opponent in front of him here. This could be a very, very close fight, one where we revert back to the Taylor Lapilus of old, who has been content to score 64 and 61 points in his last 2 wins.
Yep, that's up there for me as well. Monk, which fight are you fading?
Yeah, I could only come up with really 2 that I even felt comfortable at fading as a whole. And I don't even know how sure I am of that, but I'll just go ahead and take the easy one right off the bat. The main event, Ankalaev Walker. I mean, when Ankalaev wins, he does not score 100 points. In fact, 94.25, and old boy's been in a ton of 5-round fights. Johnny Walker, when he wins, scores very, very well for the most part, well over 107 points. However, when Ankalaev loses, he only gives up 68, and Johnny Walker likely, I don't know what kind of miracle he needs here, but it's going to have to be something. I just don't foresee him winning this one. So I think Ankalaev, even inside the distance, probably not one of the top 5-ish scorers on the card, maybe, if I had to guess. And at his salary, I really don't like that combination. So of the 2 fights that I could actually find to fade, this is one of them, the main event, Ankalaev and Johnny Walker.
Yeah, so I had both those 2 written down, the Basharat Lapilus fight and then the Ankalaev Walker fight. I think I'm going to have like a little bit of Walker just because he's extremely cheap. He's the main event. He's really dangerous, light heavyweight fight. So I'm going to go with the Basharat Lapilus because I don't really see myself having really any of this fight. I'm with Gordo. I think this fight's going to play out a lot closer than the line does indicate, and I think Lapilus could even potentially pull it off, but And even if he pulls it off and gets the win on a slate like this, where I think we're going to have a ton of massive scores, like what's the upside in Taylor Lapilus win? It's probably a decision. He's not going to get takedowns, probably not going to get knockdowns. So, yeah, I mean, I'm content with going out there and completely just not touching any Basharat, not touching any Lapilus. I'm not going to touch any Ankalaev probably, and then I'll have a little sprinkle of Walker, but I'm with you guys. Those were the two I did write down myself. Weezy, which fight are you fading for this week?
Yeah, I'm just going to fade that Silva Weston Wilson fight, I think, because I mean, like, I feel like Weston Wilson's got no chance, and Silva, I just kind of feel like, look at all the names around Silva. All those guys were getting finishes too. So why pay for the most why pay for the most expensive guy on the roster when he's a debuting fighter, when he's kind of like a low volume striker? It just seems like an easy one to stay away from. And yeah, we missed the minus 900 line. If those of you guys were looking to bet 9 units to win one, it's minus 1,200 now. So, yeah, we missed that line. It was a veritable bargain on Gene Silva at minus 900. But for those of you who waited, including me, now we got to pay 1,200.
I was actually looking to bet like the fight doesn't go to decision. I think it could be a sneaky spot this week. What's that at?
Oh, I think that's at minus 1,800. I think that's a great look. Okay. I think it hits, Brady.
It could, because I'm just thinking like Wilson hasn't been to the second round in 12 fights. I think it could be like sneaky, maybe parlay piece this week. You said that's you said 1,800.
I think 1,800. Yeah,
okay. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all, right?
No, 18 units to win one.
yeah. 30, or if you want to be conservative, 9 units to win a half unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not funny, good. Gordo. It's not funny.
It's not
better than the stock market.
All right. We shall move on to our fighter to fade. We'll stick with you, Uncle Weezy. Weezy, which fighter are you fading this week?
What did I write down this week? I didn't find a lot to fade, but there's one guy I feel has almost like a 0% chance to win this week, and that's Andrei Arlovski. Lots of live dogs this week, so I don't mind leaving money on the table, making lineups, but Arlovski can't win this fight, so I'll fade him. Even a guy like Weston Wilson could pull off a submission. Johnny Walker is a very, very explosive athlete, and he could, play possum and land a jump knee. You never know. But, like, there's no way that can anybody envision a scenario where Arlovski wins this fight?
A robbery.
Yeah, finds a time machine before Saturday.
Yeah, time machine, I think, is the best answer I heard there. I'm going to go with time machine.
You get that flux capacitor fixed, buddy. Get it out of the shop.
As long as there's no time machine, I think Acosta should be all right. And by the way, he's now minus 700. So I guess we missed the boat on Acosta.
Yeah, we missed that line. Damn it.
There we go. What a week for betting on UFC. Yeah, it's actually funny. I wrote down 2 names, and Andrei Arlovski was one of them. So, but the other name I wrote down, I already talked about a little bit. It's Basharat. It's just I'm looking at these names around Basharat. You have Manel Kape, who I think finishes. You have Tom Nolan, who could easily knock out a chinny Nicholas Moda in the first round. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who I think knocks out Andrei Arlovski in the first 2 rounds. Gene Silva, who's almost a sure-in to finish Weston Wilson in the first round. You can go down and get Ricky Simón, who I really like this week. Matt Semelsberger with knockout upside. So I think Basharat, even if he does win, he does have some wrestling upside, but I don't think the finish is there. And I think all these other guys can go out there and get finishes and early ones as well. I think there's big scores this week with a ton of early finishes. So Basharat and Arlovski are my 2. Monk, who are you fading this week?
Yeah, I love those. I am on the wrong page. I am going to be risky here just because there aren't, a ton. I came up with a couple, but not a lot I want to fade here. Even the low-end guys have a lot of upside, but I'm going to be risky and fade Joshua Van a little bit at 8,800. I think he's getting a lot of hype, maybe rightly so. I mean, he did score 106 points against Kevin Borges, fought Zalgas in his debut, won a split against Zalgas. Of course, how else are you going to, how else is a fight going to go against Zalgas other than him losing a split? But I think Felipe is probably better than Borges here, and I'm not ready to just concede Van as an automatic win. So I think a lot of people are going to be plugging Van in here because he is a cheap relatively cheap. I don't know what the odds on him now are, but everything's going up this week, so I'm sure he's going up as well. I just think Bunis is going to be slept on a little bit here. So give me the slightly risky fade on Joshua Van, and I'll decide if I'm going to keep being a hater or not after this fight.
Yeah, this card's wild. Like, it was just yesterday, I think, where Van was like -205. Now he's -250. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
With some of these lines this week, but I don't know. Hopefully this trend doesn't continue all year. But Gordo,
Bunis also rocks the Virna Jandiroba hat. So
he's a beautiful hat. Yeah,
you gotta cap that as you will. You know what I mean? It counts as something.
Yep, it definitely counts, and it's not talked about enough. Gordo, which fighter are you fading this week?
Pass. Can I do that on this show? Is this the wrong show?
The wrong show.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Well, all right. I guess I got to get a bit tricky then on this one. I can't even be Lou if I wanted to. But no, like you said, there is no obvious answer aside from the Bosch route, which I already mentioned. So we have to go out there. We have to figure out who is someone that I'm okay with fading and being lower than the public. And although I don't really want to fade him completely, I will be a bit under-owned to the market to Marcus McGhee this weekend, 9.1K. And I do think that, you know what, there's a complete world where he does have the path to victory, but I really do see him as a primary striker. And if he's going out there and he's going to be striking with Gaston Bolanos, he's giving himself more adversity than he really has to have. In that matchup there, although McGhee himself is a powerful striker, he is facing a guy who is a primary kickboxer, who does have some kickboxing experience, who is powerful in his own right. And I do think he's giving himself a more challenging path than he has to if he decides to stay on the feet here. So for that reason, I do think this fight could be a bit lower scoring, being a primary striking affair. And although McGhee does have some upside, I prefer a Tom Nolan. I prefer a Kape. I prefer a Silva, Cortes-Acosta. And he's just going to be someone I'm under-owned to.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I'm going to be under-owned to him. I'm still going to play some, but under-owned is a good word for him, I think. All right, moving on to our favorite dog. And I don't like a ton of dogs this week in terms of like outright picking, a dog. But I think there's a lot of dogs with some serious upside. The one I'm going to go with, and like I said, although I'm not picking him to win, like if he wins this fight, I think he has one of the highest, if not the highest, ceilings on the slate as an underdog. And that's going to be Preston Parsons at 7,800. And it's a striker versus grappler matchup, and he has a clear path to victory. Matheus Semelsberger's takedown defense has been subpar, to put it nicely, thus far in the UFC. I think it's around 50%. He's shown not that good of a get-up game. And Preston Parsons, he can wrestle. And when he's on top, he's not one of those guys that's just going to control you, win minutes. He's going to look for a finish, look for a submission. I think this guy's attempted like 8 subs in the UFC thus far, and he only has like 3 fights. So I think if Parsons is able to get this fight down to the mat, a sub is going to be very live and very much on the table. At 7,800, I think is a ton of upside if he were to go out there and not get knocked out this weekend. Gordo, who's your favorite dog this week?
Yeah, I have Parsons written down here too, but you taking gives me the perfect opportunity to talk about the living legend, Phil Hawes. Okay, 7.9. Guys. All right, let's stop throwing stones at me here. All right, I know it's the first card of the year, but we're looking for dogs. We're looking for upside, and I think the upside's definitely there. Of course, the red flag is the chin. All right, I think Malcolm Gordon fight next week, rivals with him chin-wise. He's definitely down there. But if you're telling me that we're going to get this guy at an underdog price tag and he's able to avoid that power shot, I mean, this guy himself, although he's being knocked out, it's to much better competition than Ferreira's being put up against, right? Ferreira's out there getting knocked out himself by Rizabiev. And if we compare overall skill sets, I think Hayes is the better wrestler, better technical striker of the two, has just as much power, and is someone who is willing to engage and score well on DraftKings. I think the ceiling is there for Hayes. He is horrible to trust, and it is terrifying to do so. But if we're talking about underdogs with upside, we're talking about people who have the ability to go out there and score very, very well, be the better fighter of the two, I'm going to have to go with underdog at 7.9K here in Phil Hawes. Who knows? You know what? I'm ready. Like that's how my 2024 is decided. It's in the hand of Phil. He can do it what he please.
Oh gosh. No, you're right. I mean, if he does not get knocked out, he's probably one of the best players on the slate. It's just, oh gosh, that chin, that hair, that hairstyle, Phil Hawes. What's going on? Monk, who is your favorite dog for this week?
Well, you know what? Never felt closer to Gordo than I do now. It's Phil freaking Hawes with a bullet, guys. 7,900. I'm looking at other underdogs here. I'm trying to find another one as soon as he said it. I mean, I'm like Mario Bautista, but no, I don't like that as much. Johnny Walker, no. Jim Miller's going to smash Gabriel Benítez, so no there. It's got to be Phil Hawes. Fajeda gave up 109 points. Look, one of these guys is going to die in there. Not actually die, but get knocked out.
Maybe. Somebody might die.
Hyperbolic first card of the year, you know what I'm saying? Been away for a bit. But, what is happening there? My goodness. So, yeah, give me I mean, how can you not like that?
Oof.
How can you not like that? Give me Phil Hawes. Like Gordo said, he's probably overall the better fighter. It just his chin is freaking terrible. So if we can avoid that the bomb from the Hulk here, it's Phil Hawes all day. If he lands one takedown, the shit could be over.
What a fight.
Then he could talk. Is DC commentating? Also, this is a big fact. Is DC commentating the card?
I'd imagine.
Then he's going to do the in-ring stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And we all remember what happened last time. This could be round 2. Phil Hawes, DC. I'm here for it. And we can't get that without a Phil Hawes victory.
There we go. Okay. So, Weezy, what do you like as your favorite dog this week?
Yeah, I had Parsons and I had Hawes actually, but you know what? Who I'll give you is a guy that I think is absolutely live, and that's Felipe Bunis. The only loss on Josh Van's career is a rear naked choke loss to a guy that could wrestle. And Josh Van has not had his wrestling tested really anywhere outside of that Jackson fight that he did get submitted in. This guy Bunis is going to test his wrestling. This guy had 5 fights in ACA. He was fighting Russian crotch sniffers over there. Bunis is going to be the better wrestler in this fight, and he's got the way better Brazilian jiu-jitsu. A very high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy in Felipe Bunis. So there's definitely a path for Bunis. If he just says, you know what, I'm not going to box with this guy. I'm going to wrestle him. I'm going to put him on the cage. I'm going to take him to places where he's not comfortable. I think Bunis could actually look like -200, -250 if he's successful implementing a grappling heavy game plan against Joshua Van. So I like Bunis this week.
Yeah, me too. And I also think he's going to be pretty low owned because nobody's going to really know who this guy is. And everybody likes Josh Van, and rightfully so. Josh Van's awesome. It's just, like you said, the path is there for Bunis. All right, we'll move on to our prize picks section now, and I will kick it off.
Minute.
What? Did I mess up?
I'm not done talking about Phil Hawes. I got a question.
Okay. What? What?
What? Did he change his nickname? This is a Monk thing. Did he change his nickname?
To No Hype.
No Hype?
No Hype.
It used to be all hype. You know, now there's no hype.
It used to be Megatron, and now it's No Hype.
Was it Megatron? That's pretty cool.
Oh
yeah.
Well, here's the bad news: is I Googled Phil Hawes to try to find pictures of him, and a picture of Sam Alvey came up, and I don't know why. It's because they were scheduled to fight, but it could be a bad omen.
Oh, it could be a sign. What sign though? Like what
is
sign?
Is Sam Alvey a champion now?
I don't know.
Karate
Sam
Combat.
Alvey is a. Imagine we got Sam Alvey versus Phil Hawes.
That is.
I've talked enough about Phil Hawes. You may continue.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't hit a pothole on his way to the Apex on Saturday.
Yeah, sure.
And pothole, those Vegas pothole, those will knock you out, especially Phil Hawes. But yeah, back to prize picks. Gordo, what do you got for prize picks this week?
Well, I had one that stuck out to me, and you know me, I'm all about Mr. finding unders and violence is fun, but under. I have no idea where I was going with that. Phil Hawes is on my mind, you know. No Hype is just there. We're going with Farid Basharat, under 87.5 fantasy score. I know we talked about the whole time about how great this card is for scoring and how great all these fighters are to go out there and target on DraftKings. I'm picking an under on the fantasy score. It's just going to continue to go with what I said when I was talking about fading this fight. Farid Basharat's fading someone in Lapidus who is going to look to slow the fight down, and I do think that 87.5 is a bit rambunctious for someone fighting Lapidus who has good takedown defense, does look to slow the fight down, and who has a chance to even defeat Basharat here. So in a slower paced decision fight that I anticipate seeing, I do think that Basharat goes under 87.5 points.
I like it. For me, I'm going to go with a fight time. I'm going to go with a fight time here. And I'm going to go with Waldo Cortes-Acosta less than 8.5 minutes. And my reasoning, and really there's only one reason. Andrei Arlovski lasted only 8 minutes and 17 seconds against Dontel Mays. And if Waldo Cortes does not top that, I mean, he should be ashamed of himself. So, yeah, Cortes-Acosta should go out there, I think, handle Arlovski, potentially even in the first round, but he has 8.5 minutes to do it. And again, if he doesn't, he should be ashamed of himself. Weezy, what is your favorite price picks play for this week?
Yeah, I'm going with the Manel Kape under 65.5 significant strikes. That's a pretty big number for Manel Kape. Manel Kape has only landed 66 or more significant strikes in 1 of 6 UFC fights. And Matheus Nicolau has only absorbed 66 or more significant strikes in only 1 of 9 UFC fights. So combine that, that's 2 of 15 or 13.33% of a pretty big sample size where that number has been crested either by Kape's offense or Nicolau's defense. You add to the fact that Nicolau is going to be looking to grapple here to win minutes on the ground, and you also add to the fact that both guys prefer to counter, and Nicolau moves laterally a ton. He doesn't like to be there to be hit. You add in all that, and then just to drive the point home that we're going to cash this under 65.5, let's talk about Uncle Weezy's tits metric here. 18.2% of the winners in the division have gotten over 65.5 significant strikes. Only 8% of the losers. When you add those numbers together and you take into account the win probability of Kape at 70.6%, you're only looking at a 15% chance for somebody in this division getting over that number with that win probability. So the prior performance, the tits metric, it's all leaning in the fact that this is going to be an under 65.5.
All I needed to hear was tits metric. I'm in.
That's right. It's your Uncle Weezy's tits metric, you know? I mean, it's one of the best metrics out there.
So I got a private chat here. Some breaking news. Claudio Poyas versus Faraz Ziam.
Finally.
Really?
Jesus.
It's
giving
we've
us
been
the
trying
fight
to make
we've been
this fight
clamoring for.
since Habib Tony fell off for the 4th time.
Right?
Wow.
That's actually what Dana just booked. You know, that was the live stream.
Is that on? Is that you? That's not
No,
UFC 300, right?
No. That's on the Mexico card.
The long anticipated return of Claudio Puelles.
Mm-hmm.
Dana did announce that he will be doing a title fight announcement tonight.
Yep. Hopefully within like the next 30 minutes, maybe we'll catch it on air. We'll have to see. But Claudio Poyas back in business. What a fight! All right, and then I think Monk, right?
Yep. I'm going to stick with the Manel Kape side of things. We're going to go with his under. It's set at 14.75. Obviously, this is only a 3-round fight, so you're either picking it to finish inside the distance or not. And I'm going. It will finish inside the distance. Kape's got 2 KOs victories in his last 4 wins. And as we know, Nicolau coming off of a KO defeat against Brandon Royval. If Kape has, the opposite of Phil Hawes, all the hype in which he does have, we'll see if it pays off here with a finish over Matheus Nicolau. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Kape under 14.75 minutes.
I like it. And speaking of Manel Kape, we're going to move on to our favorite GPP play, and he's mine. 9,000. I really do like Kape this week, as many people do. This line's just gotten smashed and smashed all week. I think everybody's of the opinion of Kape won the first fight. He should win this next fight. But not only that, I think we're going to get a little bit of a different version of Manel Kape this time around. You know, Manel Kape in his first 2 fights just looked off. He was very hesitant, very low volume. And then after that, started getting a little bit more aggressive, finishing Zhalgas Magula, beating the crap out of David Dvorak. Went back and forth with Dos Santos in his last fight. I think we get a more aggressive Kape, and I think that leads to a finish here. I think he knocks out Nicolau, who's been knocked out in all 3 of his losses. So Kape, 9,000. I like him to not only win the fight, but finish as well. Monk, who is your favorite GPP play for this week?
Normally, I would never do this because of his history and how he scores, but I'm going to go with Waldo Cortes-Acosta here at 9,500. Yeah, it's a big price, but Arlovski, just by visual and the stats all say that he is finally fading at, like, I don't know, 49 and a half years old. So give me Waldo to get the finish here. Arlovski giving up over 90 points when he gets KO'd, over 100, I think, when he 108.9 when he's been subbed. So at least in his last 5 losses. So yeah, give me Waldo Cortes-Acosta for a good GPP play at 9,500. Hopefully you can get it done in time to pay off this salary.
All right, Weezy, who is your favorite GPP play for this week?
Yeah, I put it down as Manel Kape because he's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week. You know, at this guy right now, you look at how many people have pulled out of fights against Manel Kape. You look at you look at MMA Twitter and you see how many people are picking this guy to be, champion at the end of 2024. You know, I think that this guy is a very difficult matchup right now because he does have very good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He does have very good takedown defense. And on the feet, you know, he's really fast and really and powerful and creative. So I really do see him getting the job done here. I think he's going to go find Nicolau this time. I think he's very confident. I think that he's been training in Extreme Couture now for like the last 3 fights. We're starting to see Manel Kape kind of be let off that leash. And he's like, you know, like I say, he's got a chip on his shoulder right now. And I'm looking for him to go out there and not be cautious, to go out there and just find this dude and sleep him.
There we go. I sure hope so. That's going to be one of my very few bets this week. So, Gordo, who is your favorite GPP play this week?
Man, there's a ton to choose from, but I feel like it would be a sin not to talk about the guy facing Weston Wilson. You know, that's kind of just where it is. 9.6, and yeah, I get it. We have a big salary on someone who is coming up to Middleweight Contender Series, someone who is relatively untested. But what we saw from Jean Silva is the ability to take a shot, but also give many in return, multiple angles, different power shots, whether it be flying knees or tons of volume. He laid a beating on his opponent, and he really showed that he's able to walk forward and continue to push a pace. And I do think that he has an opponent in front of him to which he doesn't really have to even land as much as he did last time. He has a guy in front of him who is easily hit, easily knocked down, and I do think that the finishing instinct of Silva is there. He's like minus 750 to win by KO, and I do think that he's able to go out there and get a finish. With all the high value names we have in this card and this lack of underdogs, I do think that although Silva will be popular, I don't think he'll be as popular as he even could or should be in this year's spot here. I'm taking a shot at him in GPP, although no real hot take there.
When have we ever seen you said the KO prop is like minus 800? Like when have we ever seen something like that? That's crazy.
800.
That's just wild.
What was well, yeah, maybe not the KO prop. I was thinking inside the distance with Almeida and Lewis.
Yeah, that was minus 10,000, and that fight went to decision because
Right.
Fighters are poor. It's the easiest fucking sport to fix. And if you go up to somebody like Gilton and be like, hey, you know you can make 15 times as much money if you just go to decision here.
Just stand up in guard like 2 or 3 times. You'll be good, bro.
Yeah.
Or in full mount or whatever it was. Yeah. Just stand up.
Gosh. That was tough to watch. That was tough to watch. But yeah, so I think we got everybody. We'll move on to our favorite cash play. We'll start with you, Monk. Who are you liking for cash this week?
Well, the only reason I didn't pick, Manel Kape for GPPs was because of his last 2 scores, and then I freaking gave you Waldo Cortes-Acosta. So what am I even doing? I'll just give you Manel Kape here for obvious reasons. I mean, I'm not going to go on. These guys have all talked about him. I also have talked about him a bit with my price picks. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to finish inside the distance. Uncle Weezy said it's I believe you said it's your ass shaving of the week. I mean, come on, man. And for 9K. So what is this dude? Yeah. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 dudes priced, more than Manel Kape this week, and one of them has 6 pro fights, and one of them is Marcus McGhee. So yeah, give me Manel Kape for sure. He'll be in a ton of my lineups.
All right, Weezy, favorite cash play for this week?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like, I think Ankalaev is a pretty safe play this week. He's a big favorite to win this fight, like over 80% implied. You don't have to worry about him being low volume like he normally is, just because I think Walker will push offense out of him, first of all. And second of all, it's a 5-round fight. So I think he's a pretty safe play.
For me, I had 2 written down. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I think, is pretty safe. Like you said, it's hard to imagine Arlovski winning that fight outside of a time machine. And as far as I'm concerned, time machines aren't allowed in the UFC. The other one I did write down is Gene Silva, 9,600, extremely expensive, but I kind of feel like his floor is like a first-round knockout, which you like never hear. Like, how can somebody's floor be a first-round knockout? It's just so it's one of those weeks where I think it's either Acosta, Gene Silva. They're pretty close to me. Either one, whatever fits, I'd say. Gordo, who are you liking for cash this week?
Yeah, a bunch of options that I think are safe, but a guy I just want to talk about kind of here is Ricky Simón at 8.6K. He's someone I'll be having in my cash lineups. His ceiling and floor is always there with this takedown upside. He averages almost 5 takedowns per fight at this point, and he has had the ability to go out there and score very well in the process. I mean, in his last 4 wins, he scored 111, 106, 98, and 131. Those are very, very high scores, and although he does have a tough opponent in front of him who will compete with him on the mat and stuff like that, I do think Simón is going to be the toughest test to date. Mario Bautista may have the best fight manager in the world, getting him all those opponents he's got. But this is a step up here. This is one that is going to make for a very fun fight. But the pace that Simón pushes, the ability for him to land takedowns, and the ceiling he may have, as well as a very confident floor, is a good reason for me to target him at cash at 8.6K.
Sounds good. All right. Moving on to the favorite value play. I feel like we're all going to have the same play here. We'll start with you, Gordo. What are you liking for value this week?
I don't think we will have the same play, honestly. Maybe we will. I'll talk about a guy at 8.2K, Jim Miller.
That's who I was talking about.
Was it? I thought so too. So I was going to go different, but then I'm like, Anyways, he is a guy who could be some hindsight value. You think about a guy in Jim Miller, you go, wow, he must be getting up there. And the way we're talking about Arlovski, we must be ageist at this point, right? Because everyone's getting up there. We're going against them. But Jim Miller, to me, seems like the guy who's in a better spot in his career. These two. You mean to watch the recent fights, Benítez has been knocked out cold. He has been a bit slower to the punch. He is only getting wins over Justin James and Charlie Ontiveros. And yes, he's facing a better level of competition, but he's being hit. He's being taken down. And when I picture a world in which Miller wins this fight, I can see it happening a multitude of ways, whether it be power on the feet that he's still managed to throw, whether it be that sneaky submission game that he still has that seems to be overlooked this week. Miller has been able to stick in fights, go to decision against Hernandez, but also have the ability to land that fight-ending shot at all times. I truly think that he is a guy who has finish potential to get on there, and I do think the plan is for me to get a quick win and back on UFC 300. One more time at Jim Miller, I'm down for it. 8.2K, tons of value.
Let's go. I think if Jim Miller does win, he should rematch. Who's that guy he just knocked out?
Moto?
Jesse Butler.
Oh,
Butler. Jesse Butler, Jim Miller 2, UFC 300. I think he pulled out of it, Jesse Butler. I think he
got knocked out in the way there.
Yeah. So I would love to see that rematch for funsies. Jim Miller can get out on a win there. Monk, who is your favorite value play?
If somehow Jim Miller is not booked for UFC 300, regardless of how this fight ends, we are rioting. This isn't. I am so nervous about that. I saw this fight get announced. I'm like, that's too close to 300. Like, he needs to be on that card. Love that pick. I'm going to go with Preston Parsons for the most value. If he can beat Semelsberger, I think he has a chance to score very well. He looked awful against Daniel Rodriguez in his first UFC fight. Come back, beat Evan Elder, 3-round decision, 108 points, and then he scored 50 in a loss against Trevin Giles in what I thought was a very close fight. What's that? Officer. My apologies. Yep. I do not need to be giving any more money to the state. So yeah, he scored 50 points against Giles there, so that looked good. Semelsberger kind of, he's pretty consistent when he does score. Like when he loses, he's right about 25, 30 points. It seems like his wins not always the best, although against Jake Matheus, he put up 102. But coming off of 2 straight losses and that Uros Medic fight, I mean, that was great for me, but did not look great for Semelsberger the last 6.5 minutes of that fight. Definitely the last round. So if this gets extended, I am a little bit nervous for Semelsberger if Preston Parsons can hold up to his nickname being pressure and just continue to put it on. So I like Parsons for potential value here at, I believe, 7,800. Yeah, 7,800.
Yep, 7,800. So I had 2 written down. Jim Miller was the first one. I'll talk about somebody else though that I think in hindsight could look like value, and that's Ricky Simón, 8,600. I mean, this guy, he lands almost 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. Like if Ricky Simón goes out there and gets the win, I feel like he can have one of the highest scores on the slate because he's wrestling and he's wrestling a ton. He can rack up control time, strikes on the ground, maybe even a sneaky finish as well. Bautista's been finished in both of his losses. So I really like Simón. And if he does win this fight, I think he puts up a massive score and just smashes that $8,600 price tag. But Jim Miller was another one that sticks out because the money's just flying in on one Jim Miller. Like last week, Jim Miller was the underdog, like plus 110. Now he's minus 140. So very popular play. Money's pouring in on him. And I think there's some line value at this point on Jim Miller. Weezy, who is your value play for this week?
Yeah, it's going to be Preston Parsons. I just think the salary's good. The matchup is good. And this guy scores a ton of DraftKings points already. You know, if you've watched this guy fight, he's in the kind of fights that you want in your lineup. He gets people down and he will go for the finish. And if he misses, the guy will get back up. But he can also really good with reverses as well. Those are 5-point plays. Takedowns are 5-point plays. You know, and then all the significant strikes. He stays very busy. He looks to finish fights. And I think Semelsberger is a perfect opponent for Preston to highlight what he does best, and that's grapple.
I was chewing some ice. Yep, I'm on you with Parsons as well. Very live dog. All right, we'll move on to, this should be fun, the dart throw. I think there's a couple very interesting dart throws sticking out. We'll start with you, Weezy. Who is your dart throw for this week?
It's Weston Wilson. I mean, come on, dude. The guy is a bum. He's got 100% finish rate though. So like if he wins, it's not going to be because he point fighted successfully against Gene Silva. Gene Silva is going to take his head home with him at some point. But if Gene gets sloppy, this guy's really tricky on the ground. He's got a pretty good switch kick to the head when he's at distance. You know, this guy's finishes fights in the first round, and if he doesn't do that, he's gone. So he's the perfect definition of a dart throw for the week.
I like it. I'm going, and it's ugly, but it's a dart throw, and if he wins, it's probably a first round sub. I have an ugly one as well, and it's going to be one Nicolas Mota, who everybody cannot be any lower on. He's 7K. He's going against Tom Nolan, who has like 6 fights. He's fought nobody. Terrible competition. And man, I was watching some of Nolan's fights, and he just leaves a lot of openings to be hit. Like he goes out there, he stands in trades with these guys with his hands completely down. If you play that game with Mota, he could potentially knock you out. Of course, Nolan can knock out Mota, who's been finished like 5 or 6 times, but I think somebody's getting knocked out here. I think these guys are going to stand and bang until a man falls. And one guy's 7K, and he's going to be low owned, and that's Nicolas Mota. So I don't mind him as a dart throw, although he could be knocked out just as Weston Wilson could as well. So I like those two a lot as dart throws this week. Monk, who are you liking as a dart throw?
Had both of them on my list. I talked about the third one, Bunez, earlier. So, I mean, who's left, guys? It's Johnny fucking Walker. How do you not? I mean, the definition of a dart throw. One of you guys, I think it was Weezy, kill or be killed. Johnny Walker, this is my plea to you. Please find a time machine. Again, we can show it's a more than a one-use thing, guys. We can pass these time machines around. Let's give one to Johnny Walker, and let's go back to where he was crazy and unpredictable. Because the more predictable and technical this guy gets, the more predictable he becomes, and the worse he looks overall, in my opinion. He already faced Ankalaev for, 3 minutes, basically. Hopefully he's been doing nothing but trying to game plan that since. I don't have a ton of faith in that, but that's why this is a dart throw. And if he does win, it's a guaranteed optimal at 6,800. So, yeah, give me Johnny Walker at that price for an absolute dart throw here.
I'm with you, man. I miss the old Johnny Walker. I miss the fun, crazy Johnny Walker. But maybe that Johnny Walker returns. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right, and then Gordo. Last but not least, what is your dart throw for this week?
Was Walker faking being hurt to the body and jumping knee not crazy and unpredictable enough?
I mean, it was so unpredictable that it got the fight stopped, basically.
So unpredictable, he got taken down right after. Yeah, exactly. No, I have all 3 of those guys on my list as well. I got one more by the name of Gaston Bolanos, 7.1K. He is someone else I'm looking targeting that bottom range. And like I said, I talked about already against McGhee, right? Like if McGhee wants to go out there and grapple, he can. But if he doesn't, in a 15-minute striking affair, you have a guy in Bolanos who has 6 of the 7 wins by knockout. The guy is extremely dangerous, a ton of power, a ton of technicality in his hands, and someone who has competed against much better strikers. This is going to be the best striker McGhee's fought. If McGhee gets reckless and he walks in there thinking he can go out there and outstrike Bolanos, I like his ability to cut the angles, cut the cage, and land with fight-ending intention. And I do think that a path to victory for Bolanos could look like a very active striking performance. He was able to average over 4 against Aaron Phillips. McGhee is not Aaron Phillips, but Bolanos is not JP based. So give me Gaston Bolanos here at 7.1.
That's the truest thing I've heard all week. He's not JP Bays.
Nope. There can only be one.
That is so true. I like it. All right. So we did that. What we'll do now is we'll do a quick recap of last year. I won. I beat Gordo. I think by how many points? Not too much. It was so close, like back and forth for like the last part of the year. And then I clutched it up at the end of the year. Forget the lineup, but Monk, how much points was it by? Like maybe 50?
Yeah, it was something like that. I've already may or may not have just hidden that away, so I didn't have to look at it. But
Gordo won it for 2022.
No, you won by 126.
Oh gosh, wow. Okay, so Gordo won in 2022. I think Gordo like destroyed 2022. I won 2023. So Monk or Weezy, it's your guys' turn this year. 2024 is the year of Monk or Weezy. We'll see which one gets it done. So that we'll get into our lineups for this year, and we'll start with Monk. You got your lineup ready?
Yeah, this will likely change because I'm leaving 500 on the table, but I think it's a good baseline. Waldo, Cortes-Acosta, Manel, Kape, Ricky Simón, Jim Miller, Felipe Bunez, and Johnny Walker for a punt play.
And by the way, I'm not letting this go. The loser of the contest actually has to get a Caio Bahaio neck tattoo.
I already got it.
Free spirit.
You just can't tell because my beard's in the way.
Okay, you got it. And then
it's there.
I have a ton of these on here. Loser has to dye their hair Phil Hawes blonde.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah,
there was a Patty Pimblett one.
Loser has to dye their hair Sugar Sean Rainbow. Loser has to come on stream with a Douglas Silva Andrade rat tail. What is PSA Justin Bieber? You're not
Alex Seva.
No, that's Macy Chason.
Mason. Oh. What's going on with some of these? Insane, absurd.
That has to be Lupi Godinez.
Yes.
Why is Happy Halloween on here? I don't know. What are some of these? I need to get rid of some of these banners.
4th of July.
Charles Oliveira blonde. Has to change their legal name to White Kong.
Shout out Jake Hadley.
White Kong. I still got the Dan Hooker's not a bum.
Yeah. That's funny because Gordo. I thought Gordo said something.
Get some help, Claudio Poyas. I got to get rid of some of these. Get some help, Keith Peterson. These are awesome. I might keep these on here forever. Actually,
by the way, nicknames, real quick. Someone said nicknames. The best one is easily Lord Assassin Jean Silva. I mean, geez,
that is a good one.
Preston Pressure Parsons is pretty fucking good too. But yeah, Lord Assassin. Who was the other one that was decent? The Dream Killer, Gaston Bolanos is pretty good.
Tom Nolan, Big Train Nolan.
Big Train. I was just going to say Tom Nolan is Big Train. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
What about What about Manel? Don't give him the microphone after the fight. Rachel.
Yeah, don't do that.
Manel,
don't start calling out everybody.
Tuck Radke cop.
Yeah, him and Radke.
Radke.
All right, I forget what I think we're giving our lineups. Monk, you got a lineup.
I just gave mine.
Okay. Back on track. I'm gonna go with Gene Silva, Manel, Kape, Ricky Simón, Jim Miller, Preston Parsons, and Johnny Walker. Weezy, what do you got for this week?
I'm going with Ankalaev. I'm going with Manel, Kape, Ricky Simón, Phil Hawes, Preston Parsons, and Taylor Lapillus.
And then Gordo, what do you got for this week?
We're close, but instead of having Jim Miller, a trustworthy fighter who has won many times in the UFC, give me Phil Hawes at 7.9K, as well as Manel, Kape 9K, John Silva 9.6, Preston Parsons 7.8, Ricky Simón 8.6, and Gaston Bolanos at 7.1.
I like it. I like that one. All right. So we'll pull up some questions. If you have any questions in the chat, just pull them up. We'll pull them up here. We'll answer some questions. We'll give our quick picks, and then we'll head out of here. So the first question is Steven Christoph. He says, hello. Weezy. Hello.
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 Monk, I got nothing for hello. I don't know what that is.
You never heard of hello?
And it's a question as well.
No.
Yeah.
Is that a city in southwest Finland, like right along the Swedish border, like over near Koripambolo?
No, it's lacking like 26 letters to be a city.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
It's all just I's, J's, and K's and Y's after that.
That's true.
I think it's just like a fancy way of saying hello.
Could be. It is fancy.
It is fancy. I like it.
And believe it or not, that's the only question.
Well, hello to you.
We had a football question.
That could have been a Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello.
Yes. We had a football question, but I mean, UFC's back. No more football talk.
What the hell is a football?
We've heard so many new fight announcements in the past like 20 minutes, and none of them I care about. Do you guys care about Mohamed Yahya versus Brendan Marotte?
Who?
Brendan Marotte? Who the heck is that?
That's the guy that T-Rex knocked out early versus the guy that
Yeah.
He spells his first name.
The guy that got beat by Mike Breeden, right? Was that Yahya?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got beat to a barking guy. A barking man.
What the heck?
We got a barking guy this week, Gene Silva. Remember he came out barking on DWCS? It was pretty good.
Yeah, but he's a fight
And
nerd,
then-
so he gets extra points.
Javid Basharat versus Amon Zahabi.
Who cares about Amon Zahabi? I don't.
Zahabi, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I see it now.
Hey,
Brandon Moret.
get all your Canadian hate out this week because next week we're getting some love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got
I
Mike
like
Murat
that.
against Neil Magny.
Yeah.
You're right. A
Yeah.
bunch of them.
Jazz the Vicious.
You're giving us the finest American you have, Jimmy Flick, and we're giving you more.
Nothing but our finest.
USA. Let's
Jimmy
go.
the brick. Jimmy the fucking brick.
My gosh. So yeah, no UFC 300 announcement yet from Dana. So hopefully he's not a liar. He
Who
said
could it be? Do we have a couple of minutes, like 2 minutes?
we have 8 minutes. We have 8 minutes.
All right. Well, he said it's a title fight. So who's already booked and who's, there's only got to be a couple options, right?
Leon
Maybe he's
Bilal,
bringing the
maybe.
women's featherweight division back. Maybe that's what he's going to do.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that's in on
Could you imagine if he announced that fight?
Norma Dumont. Oh,
You guys ready for Norman Dumont versus Macy Chason? Who's fired up? Women's featherweight forever.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I'm just gonna kind of let it happen, let it play out. But I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like it's got to be someone coming back, or it has to be like something.
Sure
just
shit
crazy.
ain't heavyweight.
It's not
It's
heavyweight.
not John Jones. It's not
Makachev isn't fighting.
It's not Islam.
It's not light heavyweight.
It's not Connor. It's not Connor. A lot of these big names they're hurt or just.
Is
not
it
fighting.
Leon Bilal? Like,
I hope not, but that probably is. That makes sense. And Haller is from Medea. Yeah, that's where it's from. Medea.
Dude, how close was I with Mrs. Doubtfire though?
You were close.
I mean,
Yeah, that's Medea. Yep. Weezy, what's on your shirt?
Yeah, it's the Caucasians.
the Caucasians.
Representing for us Caucasian folk.
Yeah, we're very underrepresented on this show.
Yes, extremely. Diversity be damned. We're stuck with 4 white guys. That's how it's gonna go.
Yep.
Let's go. All right.
got facial hair diversity. Come on.
We do.
Here we go.
All right. So we'll do our quick picks so we don't get yelled at in the comments. We'll start with Monk. Of course, as you know by now, the pick, the round, and the method.
Well, shit. I'll have to fly by my seat of the pants for the method. We'll go Bunez over Van. We're going to go decision on that one. We're going to go Tom Nolan by finish. Probably we'll say, I don't know, second round knockout. Lord Assassin, Gene Silva over Weston Wilson. We're going to go first round sub. Basharat decision. We're going to go Marcus McGhee round 2 KO. We're going to go Preston Parsons decision. Waldo Cortes-Acosta. We're going to say round 2. He's probably a KO. We'll go Phil Hawes by finish. How about round 1 over Bruno Ferreira knockout? Ricky Simón, pressure late, round 3 submission. We'll go Jim Miller by round 1 submission. And he better be on 300, Dana. He should just announce that. He should announce the Jim Miller fight right now, even ahead of this fight. Manel Kape, we're going to go decision. And somehow Magomed Ankalaev will finish Johnny Walker. We'll say round 2, probably. We'll say knockout.
All right, Weezy, what are your quick picks for UFC Vegas 84?
I've got Ankalaev, 3rd round knockout. I've got Kape, 2nd round knockout. That's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I got Jim Miller by 2nd round submission. I've got Ricky Simon by 2nd round submission. I got Phil Hawes by 2nd round knockout. I got Waldo Cortes-Acosta by 2nd round knockout. I got Preston Parsons by 2nd round submission. Gaston Bolanos, 2nd round knockout. Farid Basharat to win by decision. Gene Silva, 2nd round knockout. Tom Big Train Nolan, 1st round knockout. And Joshua Van to win by decision. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 second round finishes on this card.
Yes.
Oh, dang. I have 8 finishes and 8 finishes, 7 in the first round. I'm thinking first round early. Give me Joshua Van decision, Nolan KO1, Silva KO1, Lapalus decision, McGhee sub 2, Semelsberger KO1, Acosta KO1, Ferreira KO1, Simón decision, Miller KO1, Kape KO1, and then Ankalaev decision. So yeah, a ton of KO1s for me. And then Gordo, what do you got for this week?
Yeah, I got Joshua Van late finish. Let's say round 3 KO. Let's go Tom Nolan KO1, John Silva KO1, Farid Basharat decision, Gaston Bolanos KO2. Upset there. Preston Parsons decision. Waldo Cortes-Acosta KO1. Phil Hawes KO1. Ricky Simón decision. Jim Miller KO2. Manel Kape KO1. Magomed Ankalaev sub 2.
And there you have it.
I said Kape decision. That was wrong. I meant Kape round 2 KO.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, guys. I think we covered pretty much everything. We're going to kick it around here. Monk, any special plans for 2024? Anything new? Anything exciting?
Yes to the plans. Nothing new yet, but literally I'm spending all of my time, even at work, so don't tell my boss, I am doing nothing but importing round by round data for every single fight since 2001. Probably really stupid, but I'm already like 50% done. So and that's been like a month worth of work, so I have a little bit of time left. So I won't be doing content other than this show and the happy hour with my intrepid co-host Lou Betya, of course, on Thursdays. But no personal content for me until I get this data out. But after that, guys, we're going deep on the prize picks. We're going deep on all kinds of props, on betting, on DraftKings, everything. So yeah, just trying to work on that and get that. Just trying to power through it at this point.
There you go. Heck yeah. Weezy, this is so your second stream. You had the Chronic Combat. You got you doing Ask Weezy as well. You gonna make it 3 in a row tonight?
I'm not gonna do it, dude. My voice is almost gone already.
I can tell.
Like I can barely even talk. I'm sick. I'm just not up to it. So I'm gonna do it like tomorrow, maybe even during the afternoon, or maybe even like a late night Friday, maybe after Lambeau plays. I'll go live for an Ask Weezy. I'll do it. I just got my voice has got to come back. I am not healthy right now. So I'm going to go get some food. I got some new plans as well for 2024. I'm fired up to launch this new product that I've been coding for the last 3 to 4 months actually already. So that's coming up soon. But yeah, I'm going to take the rest of the night off tonight. I'm looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks this week and every week. I'm looking to bathe in the blood of my vanquished DraftKings enemies as well. It's going to be a big year. We're doing it big, ladies and gentlemen. Pub Sports Radio, Uncle Weezy, DFS by the numbers, Monk, Gordo. We're coming for your fucking bookies' money. Let's go.
Give it.
Wow.
Run it.
Weezy's not feeling well, and he just gave like the best outro ever. So shout out to Weezy for that. Gordo,
Nap time now.
yes. And he take a couple days off after that outro. I mean, that was incredible. Gordo, any special plans for 2024? Anything new?
Nothing new, man. Just back to the old stuff, which is the stuff I love, though. So make sure to check me out on Twitter at GamblesGordo, on Twitter at Plays and Fades Short. Shout out my little sister for getting me the second little board here to go with them.
Oh, it's nice.
Double it up. There you go. Shout out to her. Merry Christmas, everybody. But no, everything can be found on those two channels. Well, all my premium content on the Daily Fan MMA page, where I do my podcast and premium work with Brett Apley there. So go check that out. As well as you've seen me tweeting all the time about the MMA Ironman. I got 1 day left hosting that, and I'm closing down the entries. Ton of fun. Wish everyone the best of luck in all your DraftKings endeavors in 2024. And I look forward to doing this show each and every week.
There we go. And you guys can check me out. DFS by the numbers. I already have a bunch of content out. Going to be putting out some more content throughout the week. Final thoughts Friday, best bet Saturday. Same thing as last year. All right, guys. Best of luck. Like on your way out. Subscribe here to Pub Sports, and we'll talk to you all very soon. See you later.